All right, let's just start. Okay, for started, I actually have an update about the first draft of first draft of scheduling framework. I promised last week that I will send out a PR soon, but the PR is not ready. I've gone back and forth about various things and the design, of course, and the PR is going to be, of course, a very early draft. It's very going to be very much open to debate. So we can then go over the PR and discuss it further once it's sent out. So it's not going to be by any means a final implementation. Hopefully, I will send it out in the next few days. I will be basically out of office tomorrow, and then there's going to be weekend. So my hope is that somewhere in the middle of next week I can send it out. That's about the scheduling framework. I don't know if you guys have any questions about that. And yes. Was there any questions?
Yeah. For the scheduling framework, do we have a target?
What is the target?
The target release, for example.
Yeah. So my hope is that we can introduce a couple of these extension points in 113, and these are not going to be used by someone is echoing a lot. I don't know. Is it myself? Maybe it's you, Klaus.
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay. Yeah. My hope is that we can have it in 113, but I am not 100% sure we can finalize the first draft of the implementation. My hope is that it's going to be ready for 113, and despite the fact that we are going for a stability release in 113, I think we can still merge the scheduling framework changes, because these are not going to be exercised really. I don't think. Now, my goal from the very beginning for the first step of implementing everything for the scheduling framework was to be able to move all the volume binder stuff into a plugin, and then add more plugin points and extension points and stuff like that. But I don't think that we are gonna move the volume binder. We are just gonna have the skeleton of the implementation for 113, and given that 113 is gonna be a stability release, we are not gonna make any major changes. So volume binder is gonna stay as it is today, and we are just gonna have some of these points.
Okay.
Of course, in the following releases, we are going to add more extension points, and hopefully we can eventually move all our priority and predicate functions to plugins, basically.
Okay, that's great. Yeah.
Okay, so regarding taint-based eviction.
One question regarding the framework.
Yes.
So in all the extension points that we have, we seem to be delegating the responsibility of, the final binding will still be written by the default scheduler itself and not any extension point, right? So is there any plan or any benefit of actually delegating the responsibility of writing the final binding to HCD by the extension point rather than the default scheduler?
Actually, the binder is going to be a plugin. So we are going to have a default plugin, which is going to do whatever the scheduler does today. But any person who doesn't like that wants to replace it with something else is free to do so.
So the binder would also, this binder would be the one that will be writing the final binding to the HCD?
Right.
Okay, thanks.
We are going to also have some extension points called pre-bind as well. So plugins have some control over rejecting a pod at the very end of the scheduling cycle if they don't, if some of their checks, for example, fail for whatever reason.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, sure. Okay, yeah. If there's no other questions about the framework, we can go to the next item. Okay, so taint-based eviction is promoted already to beta. Thanks to Wei for sending some of these changes. I believe there are still more tests to be added. Is that right, Wei?
So there are basically two iterative tests. One iterative has been merged. The second one is up on the taint-based eviction itself. But the tricky issue is that we cannot see whether the E2E passed in the CI job because the CI job, all the serious tests has been disabled in the CI hook of the GitHub PR. So that means we have to kind of manually rely on our reviewers to see whether the E2E is correct or missing any functionality. So we then check into the master. Then we can see in the test grid dashboard that the E2E has begun to run and whether it has issues. So this is a tricky thing. I confirmed with the SIG testing today, and it seems no, there's no way to run a one-time basis for one E2E.
So what I'm confused a bit is that you're saying that all of our E2E tests are canceled as like a pre-submit test?
Yes. If you test mark it as the serial, the keyword, they have some keyword check.
Yes.
If they have serial or slow, those kind of keywords, those tests will be skipped in the pre-submit.
Oh, well, yes. So these are going to be skipped for pre-submit, but they are going to still run on daily basis.
Yes, regular basis, yes.
Yes, yes.
But
So if there is an issue, those are going to be caught.
Yeah. So on a regular basis, the E2E are all running every 2 hours or something like that.
Yeah.
But so the thing is, that regular tests are running against the master branch, not on the specific PR branch. So,
yes, correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
So right now
they are tested after PRs are merged. That
yes.
is one small caveat. But if there is still an issue with any PRs after they are merged, there is a very high chance that we can catch those, and that should be fine actually. I think that a lot of our features are like that, and hopefully, if since we have also unit tests and also integration tests for the feature, hopefully we can catch things early. And if not before submitting, we can catch them on a daily basis or even hourly basis.
Yeah, that is one of the only pending testing issue on tenant-based eviction. Once that got merged, I will keep an eye on the test grid dashboard.
Yeah, sounds good. Okay, so before getting into gang scheduling, let me tell you a little bit more about some other things. So as I said earlier, 113 is going to be more of a stability release. So we are specifically asked to not add major features in this release. This is going to particularly impact some of the features that we were targeting for 113. One is supporting FNAT or interpod FNAT to more than one pod. That's something that we're going to probably postpone to the next release. Pod scheduling policies is another feature that we wanted to have in 113, but for this reason, as well as the fact that the policy team, I don't know if it's a work group or a SIG, I believe it's a work group, policy work group thinks that it needs more changes, and they have a little bit of a bigger plan for sort of like kind of making all these policies in a uniform way or make them very similar to one another. So these guys are thinking that if we postpone it a little bit, maybe they can come up with a more standard way of defining these policies. So for these two reasons, this is going to be postponed to the next release. Then there is also this new equivalence cache that we were thinking about adding soon. Well, we were not very aggressively targeting 113, but we were still hoping that we could possibly have it in 113, but it looks like we shouldn't actually add that in 113. Although we can still get away with adding that because this is not going to be enabled anyhow. It's going to be an alpha feature even if we add it. So we can still consider adding it, but of course we won't be really pushing it. That's pretty much all of those. If you guys have any quick questions, we can get to those. Otherwise, we can postpone those questions to discussing after discussing gang scheduling.
I only had something very quick, and that was I can't. These meeting times are usually difficult for me, but I wanted to drop in and say a big thank you to everyone who has been working on the cleanup, and also the documentation effort that has been started. So I'm really excited about that, and I'm really happy with how much we've got done already.
Yeah,
so thank you.
Thank you, Jonathan, as well for initiating this. I really appreciate all of you guys' efforts that you put in and all the changes that you made. I know that there are still a couple of those left to be done. They are hopefully getting merged very soon. But this was actually a very, very good example of a team effort. I really appreciate everyone's help. All right, so yeah, gang scheduling, Cloud.
Yeah.
The owner,
Yeah.
designer, and
yes, for the gang scheduling, I think I think there's still wish, and you still give some comments about how to make sure the results will not have a deadlock between the job. And for the API part, I think they're almost there. And for the transaction about automation and the life cycle, I think we agree with we are going to use a separate proposal or separate document to define the details.
Yes.
So I think for this part should be fine. I think the question is about how to make sure we can give enough results for a job.
Yes.
Yeah. So for this part, what I'm doing right now is that when we try to assign results to a job, we will, for example, if we assign results.
One second. Let me, for the information of everybody else who are not fully aware of what we're talking about.
Yeah.
One of the questions on the document is that let's say that we are scheduling two sets of gangs. So and then we have let's say allocated or preserved in a way enough resources for half of a gang, and also reserved resources for half of another gang. But now we are the cluster is out of resources, so none of these two gangs can be fully allocated. So what should we do? Basically, we will not see any progress on any of them. And in fact, if we hadn't reserved resources for one of them, there were chances that we could fully admit or schedule one of the two instead of just having two halfway reserved resources for the two jobs. So that's one of the major questions on this proposal that we are discussing now.
Yeah. Yes. For this question, I think I'm trying to do is that for the results preserved in the scheduler, we have a state for this kind of results. I call it allocated. I think this is similar to just assume the results in default scheduler. Yes, it's similar. Yes, we introduce another phase. We will reconsider such kind of results to each gang, to each job. So, for example, for assumed results, if we after allocation phase, we will consider this kind of results cannot be used because in allocated we will, if they have enough results, we already translate the state to the bounding at least. We are tracking the states of this kind of results. And in the next phase, if this result is allocated, that means this result cannot be used by the job. So we will reconsider this part of job together. For example, if they have two results or two jobs here, and we have some allocated results, we will try to reallocate this results to one job and then to the other job. If they can run, that's fine. They will go. They will launch the whole job as normal. If they cannot, they will start here.
All right. So, for my understanding, your batch scheduler looks at pods of a job one at a time, right? So, if these, let's say, you have two jobs, their pods arrive alternatively, and you've processed them alternatively.
No, at first stage, I will try to allocate all resources to the one job firstly.
I see.
One
So
job
basically,
finding another.
I see. So basically, you're not considering parts at a time. You're considering the whole job at a time.
Yes, we'll
I
try
see.
to allocate it. Yeah.
And
But there's still some case that, for example, they have for GAN scheduling, they set node selector. Yes, but the job is so big, the selected node cannot meet the requirement. But because we don't know that, so they still have some chance to give some to get some allocated resource here. But
yes.
in that case, we will reconsider this allocated resource. We have different phase here.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a little bit of a challenge because, as you said, let's say that your gang or group includes parts from various collections. It is possible, right? So given that we just can provide the name of the group to various collections, it could consist of multiple collections, and these parts can be created at different times. So, for example, collection 1 can be created now, and then collection 2 can be created a minute later. So in the meantime, so while not all the parts of a job are available, you can start processing some of the parts of the first collection and allocate some resources to those. And then you don't do that?
If there are not enough pending resources, I think we check this state. For them, we don't have enough resources, we will not schedule this pod group.
Yes, and then you basically release all those allocated resources.
Yes, at least they have enough pending pod here for the pod group, and then we will try to allocate the resource to them.
I see.
But yes, but the resource allocated to them, we will mark a state for the resource until the job get enough resources to launch the job.
Yes.
To launch the whole job. But if there's some predicts here, they cannot get enough resources. The allocated resource we will reassign them to get again, because we can consider this kind of resource idle, because we allocated but cannot reuse.
Okay, makes sense. Okay. This was, I guess, one other question. The second question was, what do you do if a kubelet rejects one of your instances, like a pod instance? So
yes, I think for this job currently, I think we will let a pod group controller to restart the whole pod group.
Okay.
Yeah, I think there from my point is that this is not good enough, because we are one job reject the whole pod group. One pod reject the whole pod group will be restart. I think this is overhead. So for the user, I would suggest they will try to avoid such kind of resource overlap between the pod group.
I think you should restart the whole job only if the number of remaining pods drop below the minimum required.
Yes, that's the point. Yes, if there have more point than the minimum members, I think that's fine.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't do anything. We don't do anything.
Schedule.
Just reschedule the pod. But if they're below or smaller than the minimum number, we need to start the whole job.
Yes.
Whole pod group. Yes.
Makes sense. Okay, sounds good. So maybe you want to update the proposal with some of these discussions.
Sure. I will update some detail to the document. So,
sounds good. Okay. These were pretty much all the questions and comments that I had. If you guys have more comments, updates from your side, please share them with us.
Hey, Bobby?
Yes.
Yeah, so I just like to add a quick update about the new equivalent cache design.
Sure.
Yeah, so for anyone who is not familiar with this design, that we will have a class concept in our scheduling queue, which is proposed by Bobby, and I just spent a few weeks to implement a POC based on this design. So also we have a volunteer who helped us a lot from Baidu. I don't know if he's here, but I want to say thank you to him. So according to the POC, so first thing we can make sure that the idea from Bobby, which is make the change in scheduler queue do work, and I can see the scheduler is working as normal, and there's no blocker here, I think. Well, the concern will be, in this design, we will need to calculate the equivalent hash whenever we want to, for example, add a pod to the queue or private schedule. So the performance impact will be a little bit concerned here. And we also discussed this with Klaus in design doc that, how to avoid the hash collision. Then there's no perfect way, at least for now. So I may want to propose we use the controller ref, the UID of controller ref in the first version.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. It makes sense, and I guess I also commented on the design doc. I've commented on many design docs, but I guess I also commented on this one. Hopefully,
that is
sometimes I have something in my head, and I think I've done it, but maybe I haven't. But I believe I have commented on the design doc and said that I think this makes sense. So at least, as you said, for the first version, it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
And if you want to try to see the impact of this work, since we have been targeting this particularly for the cases that you have a large collection and the collection cannot be scheduled for whatever reason. For example, the cluster is already overloaded, or the collection requires a lot of resources. Actually, in GKE, we had this situation once in the past. Some user had created a collection with, 20,000 pods or something in a cluster that had like 3 nodes. And then the cluster was, of course, suffering a lot because the scheduler was really trying to schedule a lot of constantly. So it's actually a good idea to try it with something like, if you have a POC, you can try it with this kind of scenario that you don't have enough resources to schedule all these pods, but you have a very large collection that has a lot of pods, and these pods, none of them can be scheduled. So scheduler, instead of trying to schedule each one of those, schedules one, and once it determines that it's unschedulable, it skips all the rest because it doesn't make sense to try anything else.
Exactly. Yeah, that is what we can see in the POC. I will try to demo to you guys if we have some time, maybe next meeting or something.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah.
Or if you have a PR, I'll be happy to take a look.
Yeah, the change will be, with this design change will be a little bit complicated. So I will try to split the implementation part to small sizes so we can send out a PR after that.
Yeah, sounds good.
Okay, I will update this part in the documentation.
Okay, thank you very much.
I had another question regarding the PR, which is open for priority function for resource bin packing. Since it's an optional priority, is there a chance that it can go in the 1.13 release?
So you mean enabled by default?
It's disabled by default, actually.
So yeah, if it's disabled by default, we can add it.
Yes. So I think Gloss is still reviewing it. So yeah, hopefully.
Yeah. Sorry. Sorry for the delay. I will review it recently. I'm in busy travel, so I will try to check it today. I think that will be good. Yeah. Let's try to get it ready this week. Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. Thanks a lot.
Yeah. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah.
All right. Sounds great. So is there any other question, comments from any other folks?
Yeah, so one thing related to train-based evictions is last time when we were having a discussion, I told there is a particular slowness in the processing of the queue.
Yes.
So Jordan found that out like a couple of months ago, and he provided a fix wherein we are, when we are updating, we are actually updating lots of fields in the struct that are used as keys for the taint manager. So he provided the fix. I did not test that out, but hopefully that should fix the slowness as well.
I see. Okay, I saw his PR, and I saw that it's recently merged. So yeah, I appreciate it if you take a look and see if the performance issue is addressed.
Yeah, I'll do that.
All right, thank you. Okay. Anything else? All right, we can finish this meeting. You get 3 minutes of your life back. All right, thank you, everybody. See some of you folks next week.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.